The room was dark and cold. People stood in shadows, their faces hidden. This was not a place for good people. This was a place where lives were bought and sold. Nyxara stood on the wooden platform. Her violet skin caught the harsh lights from above. She had 4 arms. The top 2 were tied with glowing chains. The bottom 2 held her round belly where her baby grew. She tried not to shake, but fear made it hard to stand still. 3 eyes looked out at the crowd. She could not see their faces, but she felt their stares. Some looked at her with want, others with cold interest, none with kindness. Next item, a man with a deep voice called out. Rare Lysithian female, breeding age, currently carrying offspring. Telepathic abilities confirmed. Starting bid, 50,000 credits. Nyxara did not understand all the words, but she knew what was happening. Her planet was gone, destroyed by the Galactic Hegemony's warships. Her mate was dead. Now she was here, being sold like an animal, all to keep her unborn child alive. In the back of the room, Olivia Reeves felt sick to her stomach. She had not meant to find this place. As chief scientist who studied alien life on the ship Horizon's Edge, she had only followed a whisper of a rumor during her time off. Now she watched as thinking beings were sold to the highest bidder. When they brought out the violet-skinned alien woman, Olivia noticed right away that she was pregnant. The way the alien held her lower arms around her middle made it clear. 3 large eyes, all a deep gold color, moved around the room in fear. 55,000, someone called. 60,000, said another. Olivia bit her lip. What she was thinking was crazy. She had savings, money put aside for years of hard work, but this was not how she had planned to spend it. 70,000, a large man near the front said. He wore the marks of a private zookeeper. Olivia had heard stories of how such men treated their collections. Going once, the seller said. Olivia's hand went up before she could stop herself. 100,000, she called out. The room went quiet. All eyes turned to her. The alien on stage looked at her too, all 3 eyes wide. 100,000, the seller repeated. Going once, going twice, sold to the lady in the back. Just like that, Olivia had bought a person. Her bank account was now empty, and she had no idea what to do next. A guard led her to a small room behind the stage. The alien woman was brought in, still in chains. Payment first, the guard said. Olivia pressed her thumb to the screen he held out. The machine beeped as it took her life savings. She's all yours, the guard said with an ugly smile. He handed Olivia a small remote. This controls the restraints. Don't release her until you're somewhere safe. These aliens can be unpredictable. Then they were alone. The alien stood still, her 3 eyes watching Olivia closely. She made a soft clicking sound like a song with no words. I'm not going to hurt you, Olivia said softly. She knew the alien probably couldn't understand her words, but hoped her tone would help. I'm going to get you out of here. Olivia looked at the remote in her hand. She pressed the green button. The chains around the alien's upper arms fell away with a clank. The alien looked shocked. She rubbed her wrists where the chains had been, then made more clicking sounds. My name is Olivia, she said, pointing to herself. Olivia. The alien was quiet for a moment. Then she pointed one long 4-fingered hand at herself. Nyxara, she said in a voice like wind chimes. Olivia smiled. Nice to meet you, Nyxara. Let's get out of this awful place. Getting back to her small rented room was not easy. They had to move through back streets, keeping Nyxara covered with a large coat. People stared at them. A 7-foot-tall violet alien with 3 eyes was hard to hide, even in a spaceport where strange beings were common. When they finally reached Olivia's room, Nyxara seemed ready to collapse. She sat on the edge of the small bed, her lower hand still holding her belly. Olivia went to the food maker on the wall. You must be hungry, she said, even though she knew Nyxara couldn't understand. Let me get you something to eat. She tried to remember what she knew about Lysithian diet. Not much. They were plant eaters, she thought. She made a bowl of fruit and vegetable mix and offered it to Nyxara. The alien looked at the food, then at Olivia. Slowly, she took the bowl. She sniffed it, then began to eat quickly as if she hadn't had food in days. Maybe she hadn't. As Nyxara ate, Olivia sat at her small desk and tried to think. What now? She had 3 more days before she had to return to her ship. She couldn't leave Nyxara alone. But taking an undocumented alien on board a human ship was against at least 5 different laws. Nyxara finished eating and set the bowl down. She looked at Olivia with those 3 golden eyes. There was less fear now, but much confusion. Why? She asked in her musical voice. Olivia was surprised. You speak English? Small, little, Nixara said. She held her fingers close together to show how little. Why? She asked again, pointing at Olivia. Olivia understood the question. Why had she bought Nixara? Because it was wrong, Olivia said simply. No one should be sold. No one should own another person. Nixara watched her for a long time. Then she placed all 4 of her hands on her belly. Baby, she said. My baby, Olivia nodded. I know, how long until… She made a rocking motion with her arms. Nixara held up 4 fingers. 4 months? Olivia guessed. Nixara shook her head. 4 sun cycles, 4 days? Olivia felt panic rise in her chest. The baby comes in 4 days? Nixara nodded. Olivia took a deep breath. Her shore leave was 3 days. The alien would give birth just as Olivia was supposed to return to her ship. Okay, she said, more to herself than to Nixara. We'll figure this out somehow. Outside the small room's window, the spaceport lights flickered on as night fell. Somewhere in those crowded streets, the men who had sold Nixara were counting their money. Somewhere else, perhaps the zookeeper who had bid against Olivia was looking for another rare specimen. And up in the sky, beyond the port's bubble shield, Olivia's ship waited. In 3 days, she would have to make a choice. For now, she would let Nixara rest. Tomorrow, they would try to find a way to talk to each other better. As Olivia made up a bed for herself on the floor, letting the pregnant alien have the real bed, she wondered what she had gotten herself into. But when she looked at Nixara, now sleeping with all 4 arms wrapped around her belly, Olivia knew she had done the right thing. No matter what came next. Morning came with the sound of ships taking off. Olivia woke up with a sore back from sleeping on the floor. She sat up and looked at the bed. Nixara was already awake. The alien sat perfectly still, all 3 eyes fixed on Olivia. Good morning, Olivia said with a small smile. Nixara did not smile back. Her face could make different looks, but Olivia did not know how to read them yet. Olivia stood up and stretched. Hungry? She asked, pointing to her mouth and then to her stomach. Nixara watched but did not move. Okay, let me try again. Olivia went to the food maker and got a bowl of fruit. She took a bite to show it was safe, then offered the bowl to Nixara. Slowly, the alien reached out with one of her upper arms and took the bowl. She ate quickly, just like the night before. Olivia sat at her small desk and turned on her computer. She had 3 days to figure out what to do. She needed to learn how to talk with Nixara. Computer, what do we know about Lysithian language? She asked. The computer screen filled with information. Lysithian communication uses both sounds and mental images. Their spoken language includes clicks, whistles, and chime-like tones. Basic translation has been achieved, but full understanding requires telepathic contact. Olivia frowned. Telepathic contact? She looked at Nixara, who was watching her over the rim of the food bowl. Can you read my mind? She asked, pointing to her head and then to Nixara. The alien set down the bowl. She held up one hand and made a so-so motion. Some? A little? Olivia asked. Nixara nodded. Then she pointed to herself, made a fist, and slowly opened her fingers while making a pained face. It hurts you? Olivia guessed. Or it's hard. Nixara nodded again. Olivia thought for a moment. If they couldn't talk well with words, maybe pictures would work. She turned back to her computer. Computer, show images of planet Lysithia before the war. The screen filled with beautiful pictures of a world with purple skies and tall, twisting trees. There were cities built into the sides of mountains with buildings that looked like they were grown, not made. Nixara made a soft sound. When Olivia looked at her, she saw that the alien was now standing right behind her, looking at the screen. Her 3 eyes were wide and something wet and glowing was running down her face. Are these tears? Olivia wondered. She had never seen an alien cry before. Home, Nixara said softly. My home, Olivia nodded. Yes, Lysithia. She tapped a button and the screen showed new pictures. The same planet, but now with fire and smoke. Warships in the sky. The hegemony attack, she said quietly. Nixara's hand shook. All 4 of them. She said something in her own language, a series of musical clicks that somehow still sounded angry. Computer, show refugee ships, Olivia said. The screen changed to show large ships packed with violet-skinned people. Then it showed camps on different worlds. Then markets. And finally, the kind of auction where Olivia had found Nixara. Olivia pointed to herself, then made a braking motion with her hands. "I'm not like them," she tried to say. "I'm trying to help." Nixara was quiet for a long time. Then she did something strange. She went back to the bed and lay down. She closed all three of her eyes and did not move. "Nixara?" Olivia called softly. The alien did not respond. Olivia wasn't even sure if she was breathing. Worried, she went closer and saw that Nixara's chest was moving very slowly. Maybe this was normal for her kind. Maybe she was just tired. Or maybe seeing the pictures of her lost home had been too much. Olivia decided to let her rest. She went back to her computer and began to read everything she could find about Lysithians. Their biology, their culture, their telepathic abilities. There wasn't much. Their world had been closed to outsiders until the hegemony attacked. Most of what humans knew came from the refugees. Hours passed. Olivia made food for herself, checked on Nixara, still in the same deep sleep, and kept reading. She learned that Lysithian pregnancies lasted about 3 Earth months, that they had one large city on their world called the Harmony, that they had never made weapons until the hegemony came. Night fell again. Olivia was tired from sitting at the computer all day. She made up her bed on the floor again and lay down. Just as she was falling asleep, she heard movement. She opened her eyes to see Nixara standing over her. In the dim light from the window, the alien's violet skin looked almost black. Her 3 eyes glowed softly. Olivia sat up slowly. "Nixara, are you okay?" The alien reached down with one of her hands. Olivia tried not to flinch as the 4 long fingers touched her forehead, and then the world exploded. Images flooded Olivia's mind. A beautiful city with singing towers, a male Lysithian with deep blue skin and a kind face, a small home filled with strange but lovely things, then smoke, fire running, hiding in dark places, the blue-skinned male pushing Nixara into a small ship, then being shot as he tried to follow, the ship taking off. Days of drifting, being found by the wrong kind of people, being sold first to one owner, then to another, escaping, being caught, being sold again, and through it all the growing life inside, the baby, the reason to keep going, the reason to live. When the images stopped, Olivia found that she was crying, real tears, not glowing ones like Nixara's. The alien took her hand away from Olivia's head and stepped back. "I'm so sorry," Olivia whispered. "I'm so sorry for what happened to you. To your mate. To your world." Nixara made a soft sound. This time Olivia understood it. Not the words, but the feeling. Sadness, but also something like thanks. "Why did you show me all that?" Olivia asked. Nixara pointed to her own head, then to Olivia's, then made a circle with 2 of her hands. "Connection?" "Understanding?" Olivia guessed. Nixara nodded. Then she pointed to Olivia. "You want me to share my thoughts too?" Olivia asked. Another nod. Olivia hesitated. She had heard stories about telepathic aliens who could take over minds or steal memories. But something told her that wasn't what this was about. This was about trust. "Okay," she said finally. "How do I do it?" Nixara sat down on the floor in front of her. She took Olivia's hand and placed it on her own forehead. Then she closed all 3 eyes. Olivia tried to think of what to share. Her life, her work. She decided to start with why she had bought Nixara. She thought hard about the auction, about how sick it had made her feel, about how she couldn't stand the thought of what might happen to Nixara and her baby if someone else bought them, about how she had acted without thinking, spending all her money to save someone she didn't even know. She felt something warm and strange in her mind, like someone was gently looking through her thoughts. It didn't hurt. It just felt different. After a few minutes, Nixara opened her eyes and moved Olivia's hand away. She made a sound that Olivia somehow knew meant thank you in her language. "You're welcome," Olivia said. Nixara reached out and touched Olivia's hand again. This time no images came, just a feeling, warm, safe, grateful. Olivia smiled. "We'll figure this out," she promised. "I don't know how yet, but we'll find a way to keep you and your baby safe." Nixara got up and went back to the bed. But before she lay down, she turned and looked at Olivia. She pointed to the floor, then patted the bed beside her. "You want me to sleep in the bed too?" Olivia asked, surprised. Nixara nodded. "Are you sure? There's not much room." But Nixara just patted the bed again. Olivia got up and carefully sat on the edge of the bed. It was small for 2 people. especially when one was a 7-foot-tall pregnant alien. But somehow they made it work, with Nixara on her side and Olivia curled up at the foot of the bed. As she drifted off to sleep, Olivia realized something had changed. Yesterday she had bought a stranger. Today she had made a friend. Tomorrow they would face whatever came next together. 2 days passed quickly. Olivia and Nixara found ways to talk that mixed words, hand signs, and short mental touches. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. Olivia learned that Nixara had been a teacher on her world, that her baby was a boy, that her mate's name had been something like Tesalor, though Olivia couldn't quite make the sound right. Nixara learned that Olivia studied alien life forms, that she had no mate or children, that her ship would leave tomorrow, and they still had no plan for what to do next. On the morning of the third day, Olivia woke up worried. She had to be back on the horizon's edge by sunset. If she didn't show up, they would mark her as missing and might even send people to look for her. But she couldn't leave Nixara alone, especially not with the baby coming so soon. "I have an idea," she told Nixara over breakfast, "but it's risky." Nixara made the chirping sound that Olivia now knew meant, "Tell me." "I'm the chief xenobiologist on my ship. That means I study alien life forms. Sometimes I bring specimens back to the lab." Olivia pointed to Nixara, then to herself. "You could come with me as a specimen. I could say I found you injured and need to treat you in my lab." Nixara's 3 eyes blinked in different patterns, showing she was thinking hard. "I know it's not ideal," Olivia said. "You'd have to stay hidden in my lab most of the time. But it would get us off this station. And my lab has better medical equipment for when the baby comes." Nixara was quiet for a long time. Then she put one hand on her belly and another on Olivia's arm. She nodded. "Okay," Olivia said. "Let's pack up. There wasn't much to pack." Olivia had her clothes and her computer. Nixara had nothing but the simple garment she had been wearing at the auction. Olivia gave her a large coat to wear as a disguise. "We'll need to get you a bio-container," Olivia explained. "It's a big clear box used to transport specimens. You'll have to get inside it when we reach the ship's dock, just until we're in my lab." Nixara didn't look happy about this, but she nodded again. They left the small room and went into the busy streets of the spaceport. Olivia kept Nixara close, trying to hide her height and her violet skin as much as possible. They made it to a supply shop where Olivia bought a large bio-container, big enough for Nixara to sit in if she folded her long legs. Just as they were leaving the shop, Nixara suddenly grabbed Olivia's arm. Her grip was tight enough to hurt. "What's wrong?" Olivia asked. Nixara pointed across the street. 2 large men were standing there, looking at the crowd. "They wore dark clothes and had weapons on their belts. Do you know them?" Olivia whispered. Nixara touched Olivia's forehead lightly. A quick image flashed in Olivia's mind. The same 2 men dragging Nixara into a cell. "They're looking for you," Olivia realized. "Slave hunters." Nixara nodded, her 3 eyes wide with fear. "Stay calm," Olivia said, though her own heart was racing. "Keep your head down. We'll go the long way around to the ship." They turned and walked in the opposite direction. Olivia tried not to look back, but she could feel eyes on them. Were the hunters following, or was she just being paranoid? They took side streets and back alleys, making their way slowly toward the docking area where the horizon's edge waited. Every shadow made Nixara jump. Every loud noise made Olivia's hand tighten on the bio-container she carried. They were almost there when they heard heavy footsteps behind them. Running footsteps, there she is. A rough voice shouted, "The Lysithian!" Olivia turned to see the 2 men from before now racing toward them. "Run!" she yelled to Nixara. But the alien was 7 months pregnant and not used to running. She moved as fast as she could, but the men were faster. One of them reached for Nixara's arm. Without thinking, Olivia swung the bio-container and hit him in the head. He fell back, cursing. The second man pulled out his weapon. It wasn't a gun, but some kind of electric stick. "Stand aside," he growled at Olivia. "That alien is stolen property. We're here to return her to her rightful owner." "She's not property," Olivia said, standing in front of Nixara. "She's a person." The man laughed. "Tell that to the Traders Guild. Now move or I'll move you." Olivia didn't move. "Nixara," she said without turning around, "can you run to Dock 7? The big ship with the blue lights? Ask for Captain Patel. Tell her Olivia sent you." "No, leave you," Nixara said in her broken English. "You have to," Olivia insisted. "Think of your baby." The man with the electric stick took a step forward. Enough talking. What happened next was so fast that Olivia could hardly believe it. Nixara suddenly moved from behind her to in front of her. All four of the alien's arms were in motion. The upper right grabbed the man's stick. The upper left hit him in the throat. The lower two pushed him back hard. The man fell, dropping his weapon. Nixara picked it up with one of her lower hands. The first man was getting up now, holding his head where the bio-container had hit him. He reached for his own weapon but froze when he saw Nixara holding the electric stick. "Back," she said in a clear, hard voice. "Go back." The man looked at his partner on the ground, then at Nixara. He took a step back. "This isn't over," he said. "That alien is worth a fortune. We'll find you again." "No," Nixara said. "You no find." She raised the stick higher. The man took another step back, then turned and ran. He didn't even help his partner up. Olivia stared at Nixara in shock. "How did you do that?" "I thought your people were peaceful." Nixara lowered the stick. She looked tired suddenly. "We learn," she said simply. "When war come, we learn." Olivia nodded slowly. "We need to hurry. They might bring more people back." They made it to Dock 7 without seeing the hunters again. The horizon's edge was there, its blue running lights glowing softly. Crew members were moving back and forth, loading supplies for the upcoming journey. "Now comes the hard part," Olivia said. She opened the bio-container. "You need to get in." Nixara looked at the clear box. It was large for a container, but small for a 7-foot alien. She would have to curl up tightly to fit. "I'm sorry," Olivia said. "It's just until we get to my lab." Nixara didn't complain. She carefully folded her long legs and lowered herself into the container. With all four arms wrapped around her belly, she just barely fit. Olivia put the lid on but didn't lock it. "Try not to move," she whispered, "and keep your eyes closed. Your eyelids are the same color as your skin, so it will be harder to tell you're not just a specimen." Nixara closed her 3 eyes. Curled up in the box, she looked smaller, almost like she could be some strange plant or deep-sea creature. Olivia took a deep breath and picked up the container. It was heavy now, but she could manage. She walked toward the ship's entry ramp, trying to look normal. A crew member at the bottom of the ramp checked her ID. "Welcome back, Dr. Reeves. Successful shore leave?" "Very," Olivia said with a forced smile. "Found some interesting specimens to study." The crew member glanced at the container but didn't really look at what was inside. "Better get that to your lab then. We take off in 2 hours." Olivia nodded and walked up the ramp. Inside the ship, she moved quickly through the corridors, hoping not to meet anyone else. Her lab was on the lower deck, away from the busier parts of the ship. When they finally reached the lab, Olivia set down the container and locked the door. Then she quickly opened the lid. "We made it," she said as Nixara uncurled herself and climbed out. "You can—" A sharp knock on the door cut her off. "Dr. Reeves." "It's Security Chief Wells. Open up, please." Olivia's heart sank. Wells was strict about rules. If he saw Nixara, he would report them both. "Hide," she whispered to Nixara, pointing to a storage closet. Nixara moved silently to the closet and squeezed inside. Once she was hidden, Olivia unlocked the door. Security Chief Wells stood there, a tall man with a serious face. "Dr. Reeves, I heard you brought something unusual on board." Olivia tried to look calm. "Just some biological samples from the station." "Nothing dangerous." Wells looked past her into the lab. "One of the dock workers reported seeing something moving in your container." "Something large?" "Oh, that," Olivia said with a laugh she hoped sounded real. "I found some interesting plant specimens that respond to vibration. They curl up when touched. The movement of carrying them probably triggered that response." Wells frowned. "I'd like to see these plants." "Of course," Olivia said. She went to a shelf and took down a small pot with a purple fern-like plant. "Here's one of them. The others are being processed for study." Wells looked at the plant, then back at Olivia. "The dock worker said he saw eyes." Olivia's mouth went dry. "Eyes?" "No, these are just sensory nodes that look a bit like eyes. See?" She pointed to small dark spots on the plant's stems. Wells didn't look convinced. "I'd like to check your storage closet if you don't mind." Olivia's heart pounded. "The closet? Why?" "Standard security check," Wells said, already moving toward it. Olivia couldn't stop him without making him more suspicious. She watched in horror as he reached for the closet door. Just as his hand touched the handle, the ship's alarm began to blare. "All security personnel to the main dock," a voice announced over the speakers. "Unauthorized entry detected." Repeat, unauthorized entry detected. Wells's hand dropped from the closet door. We'll finish this inspection later, he said and hurried out of the lab. As soon as he was gone, Olivia locked the door again. Nixara, you can come out now. The closet door opened and Nixara stepped out. She looked at the ceiling where the alarm was still. 5 years passed like a dream and a storm. Olivia stood on the porch of her small house watching the two suns set over the fields. The larger sun was already halfway below the horizon, painting the sky red and gold. The smaller sun would follow soon, bringing the quick darkness of this world they now called home. Beautiful, yes? Nixara said, coming to stand beside her. The alien was taller than Olivia by nearly 2 feet, but they had long ago stopped noticing the difference. Yes, Olivia agreed. Never gets old. In the field below, a small figure ran through the tall purple grass. He looked mostly Lysithian, with his indigo skin and golden eyes, but he had only 2 arms like his father. At 5 years old, Tezvak was already tall for his age and fast as the wind. Tezvak, Olivia called. Time to come in. The boy looked up and waved. 5 more minutes, he shouted back in perfect English. Then he said something in the musical Lysithian language that made Nixara laugh. What did he say? Olivia asked. He say he must finish race with night bugs, Nixara explained, pointing to the small glowing insects that were starting to rise from the grass as darkness fell. He always tried to catch biggest one, Olivia smiled. Just like his mother. Always chasing the brightest light. So much had happened in 5 years. So much had changed. When Security Chief Wells had knocked on the lab door that day, Olivia had been sure it was the end. She had opened the door, ready to face the consequences of her actions, ready to protect Nixara and baby Tezvak with her life if needed. But Wells had surprised her. He had looked past her at the sleeping alien mother and child, and something in his stern face had softened. So that's what you've been hiding, he had said quietly. Please, Olivia had begun. They have nowhere else to go. The hegemony destroyed their world. Slave hunters were after them. I couldn't. Wells had held up a hand to stop her. My wife was on one of the refugee ships from Lysithia, he had said. She was a aid worker. She didn't make it out. Olivia had been stunned silent. I've seen what the hegemony does to the worlds it conquers, Wells had continued. I've seen how the survivors are treated. He had looked at Nixara again, his eyes sad but determined. I'll help you get them to Europa safely. After that, you're on your own. True to his word, Wells had helped them. He had created fake medical documents saying that Nixara and Tezvak were rare specimens being transported for study. He had arranged for them to be the first ones off the ship when they reached Europa Colony. From there, Olivia had used the last of her credits to buy passage on a small transport ship heading to the outer colonies. A long journey, moving from world to world, always looking over their shoulders for slave hunters or hegemony spies. Finally, they had found this place, a small farming colony on a moon called Haven. It orbited a gas giant in a system so far from the main trade routes that few ships ever came here. The colonists were a mix of humans and aliens who wanted to be left alone. No one asked too many questions about the past. Olivia had used her knowledge of xenobiology to help the farmers grow crops in the strange soil. Nixara had used her telepathic abilities to communicate with the native animals, keeping them from eating the fields. They had earned their place and they had found others. 3 more Lysithian families had made their way to Haven over the years, drawn by whispers of a safe place, a sanctuary. Now there was a small community of the violet-skinned aliens living in the hills beyond the human settlement. He grows so fast, Nixara said, watching her son chase the glowing insects. Soon he be taller than you. Probably by next year, Olivia agreed with a laugh. Good thing one of us can still reach the high shelves. Nixara made the soft clicking sound that was her species' version of laughter. She reached out with one of her forearms and gently touched Olivia's shoulder. A warm feeling of affection flowed through the touch, a silent thank you that needed no words. This was how they lived now. A human woman, an alien mother, and a child who belonged to both worlds and neither. Not a normal family by anyone's standards, but a family nonetheless. The smaller sun finally dipped below the horizon, and darkness fell quickly. The glowing insects rose higher, filling the air with soft blue light. Tezvak, Olivia called again. Now please! The boy made one last grab at a particularly bright insect, then ran toward the house. He bounded up the steps full of energy as always. I almost caught the big one, he said excitedly. It was this big. He held his hands apart to show a size that was surely exaggerated. Very big, Nixara agreed seriously. Maybe tomorrow you catch. Maybe, Tezvac said. Then he looked at Olivia. Can we have story time now? You promised. I did, didn't I? Olivia said. Go wash up first. As the boy ran inside, Nixara turned to look at the darkening sky. Her three eyes narrowed slightly. What is it? Olivia asked, knowing the look well after all these years. Ship coming, Nixara said quietly. Feel it here. She touched her head. Olivia felt a flutter of worry. Ships rarely came to Haven, and when they did, it usually meant trouble. Hegemony? Nixara was silent for a moment, her eyes unfocused as she extended her telepathic senses. No, she said finally. Different, strange. I'll tell Mara to watch for it, Olivia said, referring to the colony's unofficial leader. How long until it arrives? Tomorrow, maybe. Hard to tell. Far away still. They went inside, trying to put the worry aside for now. Their small house was warm and bright, with a mix of human furniture and Lysithian decorations. Tezvac was already sitting on the floor by the fireplace, waiting for his story. Olivia sat beside him, and Nixara sat on his other side. The boy leaned against his birth mother but reached out to hold Olivia's hand. What story tonight? Olivia asked. The auction one, Tezvac said. How you found Mother and saved her. It was his favorite story. Olivia had told it many times, changing it a little as he grew older, adding more details as he was able to understand them. Well, she began, it was 5 years ago. I was a scientist on a big ship called the Horizon's Edge. She told the story as the fire burned low. She told about finding Nixara at the auction, about spending all her money to buy her freedom, about hiding in the lab, about the birth during the ion storm, about Security Chief Wells and his surprising help. Tezvac listened with wide golden eyes, even though he had heard it all before. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Were you scared? He asked. When you bought Mother? Olivia thought about it. Yes, she admitted. I was scared of doing the wrong thing. Scared of not being able to help her. Scared of what might happen to both of you. But you did it anyway, Tezvac said. It wasn't a question. Sometimes being brave isn't about not being scared, Olivia told him. It's about doing what's right even when you are scared. The boy nodded seriously. Then he looked at Nixara. Were you scared too, Mother? Yes, Nixara said. Very scared. But then Olivia helped and not so scared. Tezvac seemed satisfied with this answer. He yawned, his small mouth opening to show teeth that were a bit sharper than human teeth. Time for bed, Nixara said, gently stroking his head with one of her hands. Can I sleep in the big bed tonight? Tezvac asked, looking from one mother to the other. Please. Olivia and Nixara exchanged a look. They usually didn't let him sleep in their room, wanting him to be independent. But with a strange ship coming? Just tonight, Olivia said. The boy grinned and ran to their bedroom. Nixara followed to help him get ready for bed, leaving Olivia alone by the fire. She thought about the ship that was coming. So many times over the years they had feared discovery. The hegemony had declared Lysithians to be property, not people. If they found this sanctuary, they would take Nixara and Tezvac away. They might even destroy the whole colony to hide the evidence. Olivia had given up everything from her old life, her job, her savings, her future on Earth. She had lived as a fugitive, always moving, always watching for danger. It had been hard at times, even frightening, but when she looked at the life they had built here, at the family they had become, she knew she would do it all again in a heartbeat. Nixara came back from the bedroom. He sleep already, she said with a smile. Too much running today. Olivia moved over on the small couch to make room for her. The alien sat down, her long legs folding gracefully beneath her. Should we warn the others? Olivia asked, thinking of the Lysithian families in the hills. About the ship? Nixara was quiet for a moment, her three eyes blinking in different patterns as she thought. Yes, she said finally. But not yet. Wait till morning. See if ship's still coming. Okay, Olivia agreed. We'll wait. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the fire burn down to embers. This was their life now. Quiet evenings in a small house on a distant moon, working in the fields during the day, teaching Tezvac about both his cultures, always watchful but no longer running, Ever regret? Nixara asked suddenly. Coming here? Leaving your world? Olivia looked at her in surprise. It was an unusual question from the alien who rarely spoke of the past. No, Olivia said honestly. I don't regret it. Earth wasn't really home anymore. Not after everything that happened. This is home now. You and Tezvac are home. Nixara made a soft musical sound of agreement. One of her hands found Olivia's in the dim light. The horizon's edge left the space station and moved into deep space. Olivia managed to keep Nixara hidden in her lab. She told the other crew members she was working on a special project that needed her full attention. She put up a Do Not Disturb sign and kept the door locked. Security Chief Wells did come back, but Olivia was ready. She showed him some strange-looking plants and sea creatures she had collected. She explained that they needed special care, which was why she kept the lab locked. Wells wasn't fully convinced, but he had no reason to search the lab again. Nixara stayed quiet and out of sight when anyone else was around. At night, when most of the crew was asleep, she would move around the lab, stretching her long legs. Olivia brought her food from the ship's kitchen, saying it was for her long work hours. But on the fourth day in space, everything changed. Olivia woke up to find Nixara standing over her, all three eyes wide open. The alien's violet skin had a strange pale glow to it. What's wrong? Olivia asked, sitting up quickly. Nixara placed a hand on her swollen belly. Baby, she said. Baby comes. Olivia felt a rush of panic. She had studied alien biology, but she had never delivered a baby before. Alien or human. Are you sure now? Nixara nodded. Then she made a small sound of pain and leaned against the wall. Okay, Olivia said, trying to stay calm. Okay, we can do this. Let me get some things ready. She quickly turned her lab table into a makeshift bed, covering it with clean sheets. She got out her medical tools and turned on her computer. Computer information on Lysithian birth process, she said. The screen filled with text, but there wasn't much. Lysithian females typically give birth after a 3-month gestation period. The process involves telepathic bonding with the infant. Limited medical data available due to cultural privacy practices. That's not very helpful, Olivia muttered. Nixara made another sound of pain, louder this time. She sank to her knees, all four arms wrapped around her middle. Olivia went to her and helped her to the table. Lie down, she said gently. I'm going to help you, but you need to show me what to do. Nixara lay back on the table. She reached out and touched Olivia's forehead with one trembling hand. Images flooded Olivia's mind. A circular room with soft purple lights. Female Lysithians standing in a circle. A feeling of minds connecting, supporting, guiding. Then pain, but pain shared among many, made lighter by the sharing. When the images faded, Olivia understood. The telepathic bond, she said. You need other minds to help share the pain. To help guide the baby out? Nixara nodded weakly. Many minds, she whispered. Not alone, Olivia took her hand. You're not alone, she said firmly. I'm here. I can't do the telepathic thing the way your people can, but I'll help however I can. Just then, the ship's lights flickered. A moment later, a voice came over the speakers. Attention all crew. We are entering an ion storm. Expect power fluctuations. All non-essential systems will be shut down to preserve core functions. This is not a drill. Olivia looked at her computer screen. It was already shutting down to save power. The storm would cut them off from the rest of the ship. No one would be able to come to the lab, but they also wouldn't be able to call for help if something went wrong. Nixara made a louder sound of pain. This time Olivia felt something strange in her own mind, like an echo of the alien's pain. Are you sharing your pain with me? She asked. Nixara's three eyes blinked in a pattern that meant, yes. It's okay, Olivia said. I can handle it. The ship shook as it entered the ion storm. The lights went out completely, then came back dim and red, the emergency lighting. Outside the lab's small window, Olivia could see strange flickering lights in space. The ion storm looked like a massive cloud of glowing gas with lightning-like flashes inside it. Nixara cried out again. This time the pain in Olivia's head was stronger. She gasped but didn't pull away. What do I need to do? She asked. Tell me how to help. Nixara took Olivia's hand and placed it on her belly. Through the thin fabric of her garment, Olivia could feel movement. Strong movement. The baby is active, she said. That's good, right? Nixara nodded, then winced in pain again. This time she didn't make a sound. But the echo in Olivia's mind was like a shout. "I need to check how far along you are," Olivia said. She had some basic medical training as part of her xenobiology studies. She knew the signs of birth in several species. She hoped Lasithians weren't too different. Nyxera seemed to understand. She adjusted her position to let Olivia examine her. What Olivia saw surprised her. "There's light," she said, "coming from inside you." Nyxera nodded as if this was normal. "Is the baby glowing?" Olivia asked in wonder. "Life light," Nyxera explained through short, pained breaths. "Show way out." The glow was getting brighter. Olivia could see that the birth was progressing quickly. Too quickly, maybe. She wasn't prepared for this. "I need to get help," she said, standing up. "Maybe the ship's doctor." Nyxera grabbed her arm with surprising strength. "No," she said firmly. "No others. Not safe." "But I don't know what I'm doing," Olivia admitted. Nyxera touched her forehead again. This time the images were clearer. Step-by-step instructions. What to look for, what to do, when to help and when to wait. "Okay," Olivia said when the images stopped. "I think I understand. We can do this." For the next hour, as the ship rocked in the ion storm, Olivia helped Nyxera through her labor. The pain in her own head grew stronger as Nyxera shared more of her experience. At times it was hard to tell which of them was having the baby. "You're doing great," Olivia said, wiping sweat from the alien's face. The glow is getting brighter. "I think it's almost time." Nyxera made a series of clicking sounds that Olivia somehow understood meant, "Push now." The next few minutes were intense. The glow from within Nyxera became so bright that Olivia had to squint. The pain in her head was almost unbearable. She felt like her skull might split open. Then suddenly there was a new sound in the room. A cry, but not like any human baby's cry. It was musical, like wind chimes in a storm. The light dimmed enough for Olivia to see. In her hands was a tiny violet form, a baby boy just as Nyxera had said. His skin was darker than his mother's, almost indigo. He had only 2 arms, not 4, and he had 2 eyes, not 3, though they were the same golden color as Nyxera's. "He's beautiful," Olivia whispered, carefully wrapping the baby in a clean cloth. "He's perfect." She placed the baby on Nyxera's chest. The alien mother's forearms gently surrounded her son. 3 eyes looked down at him with a love that needed no translation. The pain in Olivia's head was gone now, replaced by a warm, peaceful feeling. She realized that Nyxera was sharing her joy just as she had shared her pain. "What will you name him?" Olivia asked softly. Nyxera looked up at her. "Tesvak," she said. "For father," and she hesitated, then touched Olivia's hand. "Olvia." 2 names. 2 who give life. Tears filled Olivia's eyes. "You're giving him my name too?" Nyxera nodded. "You save. You help. You family now." The word family hit Olivia hard. She had been alone for so long, focused on her work, on her studies. She had never thought much about having a family of her own. "I'm honored," she said, her voice breaking a little. "Thank you." Outside the window, the ion storm was beginning to fade. The ship's normal lights flickered back on. Soon, the rest of the crew would be moving around again. Security Chief Wells might come to check on the lab, but right now, in this moment, none of that mattered. Olivia sat beside Nyxera and the baby, feeling a peace she had never known before. "We still need a plan," she said after a while. "The ship will reach Europa Colony in 3 days. It's a small human settlement, but there might be a place where you can hide." Nyxera looked down at her son who had fallen asleep in her arms. "No more hide," she said softly but firmly. "No more run." "Find home," Olivia nodded. "Yes, we'll find you a home. Both of you." The baby made a small musical sound in his sleep. Nyxera hummed back to him, a melody that seemed to fill the air with warmth. Olivia went to her computer, which was working again now that the storm had passed. She began to search for information about Europa Colony. It was mainly a research station, with scientists studying the moon's thick ice and the ocean beneath it. There were caves in the ice, unexplored regions where sensors couldn't reach. "Maybe we could find a place in the caves," she said, thinking out loud, "somewhere private, away from the main colony." Nyxera didn't answer. When Olivia looked over, she saw that both mother and baby were asleep. They looked peaceful, despite everything they had been through. Despite everything they still faced. A knock on the door made Olivia jump. "Dr. Reeves." It was Security Chief Wells again. "Is everything all right in there? We lost contact during the storm." Olivia looked at Nixara and the baby. There was no time to hide them. No place they could go. The moment of truth had come sooner than she expected. She took a deep breath and went to the door. Before opening it, she looked back at the sleeping pair one more time. Family, she whispered to herself, feeling the weight of that word. Then she unlocked the door.